the man who rode into immortality. Some men chase history, others carry it on their back, or in Ron Turcotte's case, between their knees, at 40 miles an hour, on 1,100 pounds of living thunder. In 1973, he didn't just win the Triple Crown. He and Secretariat shattered the limits of what the world thought possible. And now, the man who steered the greatest racehorse in history has taken his final ride. Chapter 1. The lumberjack who became a legend. Before the deafening roar of grandstands, before his name was etched into racing immortality, Ron Turcotte's world was the crack of an axe in the frozen woods of Drummond, New Brunswick. One of 12 children, he learned early that survival meant grit, muscle, and the will to keep going when the day was long and the hands were raw. School ended early for Ron, not because he lacked ambition, but because life demanded work. He became a lumberjack, carving out a living in the Canadian wilderness. But destiny was already saddling up. A move to Toronto changed everything. The smell of hay, the steam rising from a horse's flank in the morning chill, it was here, on the backstretch of Woodbine Racetrack, that Ron found his calling. He started at the bottom, walking horses, cleaning stalls, watching, learning. Every step closer to the saddle was a step away from the woods and towards something far greater. By the late 1960s, he was Canada's leading rider, a quiet storm in the making. The boy from the timber camps was now a man with the hands, the nerve, and the hunger to ride into history. Chapter 2. Love at First Ride. In 1972, fate placed Ron Turcotte in the saddle of a towering chestnut colt with a white blaze that seemed to cut through the wind, Secretariat. The moment the reins settled in his hands, Turcotte felt it. This wasn't just another horse. This was a force of nature. "You'll never see another like him," he would say for the rest of his life. That same year, Turcotte and Riva Ridge conquered the Kentucky Derby and Belmont Stakes, proving his skill on the sport's biggest stages. But Secretariat was different. Faster than the stopwatch could believe, stronger than the competition could endure, hungrier than any rival dared to be. Every stride felt like a secret between them, a shared understanding that the limits everyone else saw were just starting points. In the mornings, Secretariat's gallops left seasoned trainers shaking their heads. In the afternoons, his presence in the paddock drew a hush, as if the crowd sensed they were in the presence of something rare. It wasn't just a partnership, it was destiny in motion, a collision of man and beast that would soon rewrite the record books and redefine what greatness looked like on a racetrack. Chapter 3. The Triple Crown Drought Breaker. For 25 long years, the Triple Crown was a ghost, a feat last conquered by citation in 1948. Many had tried, all had failed. Then came 1973. Kentucky Derby, Secretariat thundered down the stretch in 1 minute, 59 2/5 seconds, the fastest derby ever run, a record that still stands. Turcotte sat motionless in the saddle, letting the big red colt devour the track with each impossible stride. Preakness Stakes. At Pimlico, Secretariat made his move so early it defied logic. On the first turn, Turcotte tipped him outside and hit the accelerator. The crowd gasped. Rivals were left scrambling. The finish line already his. Belmont Stakes. The day history bent. Secretariat broke from the gate, set a blistering pace, and never looked back. By the far turn, the race was over. The only question was, by how much? 31 lengths, 2 minutes, 24 seconds flat. A world record for a mile and a half that has stood untouched for 52 years. After the wire, Turcotte smiled and said, "I still had a lot of horse." It wasn't just a win. It was a demolition of doubt. The day man and horse outran the limits of imagination. Chapter 4. The Fall and the Fight. In 1978, the unthinkable happened. Ron Turcotte, the man who had piloted Secretariat into immortality, was thrown from his mount early in a race. In an instant, the roar of the crowd was replaced by the silence of shock. The injuries were devastating. Turcotte would never walk again. For many, that would have been the end of the story. But for Ron, it was the start of a new kind of race. One fought not on the track, but in the arena of resilience. Confined to a wheelchair, he refused to be defined by the accident. Instead, he turned his energy toward helping others who had suffered the same fate. Through the permanently disabled Jockeys Fund, Turcotte became a tireless advocate, raising awareness, securing financial support, and offering hope to riders whose careers and lives had been shattered in a heartbeat. His voice carried the weight of experience, his presence a reminder that courage isn't measured only in victories, but in how you face the moments that try to break you. Ron Turcotte's greatest ride wasn't just aboard Secretariat. It was the decades he spent proving that even when the body is broken, the spirit can still finish first. Chapter 5. The Last Survivor of a Dynasty. By 2018, the once unbreakable circle around Secretariat had faded, one by one. Penny Chenery, the iron-willed owner who bet everything on a colt the experts doubted, gone. Lucien Lauren, the maverick trainer in plaid who shaped raw speed into precision, gone. Eddie Sweat, the quiet groom whose hands knew every inch of Big Red's soul, gone. Charlie Davis, the exercise rider who felt that legendary stride before the world did, gone. And there was Ron Turcotte, the last man standing from the team that had rewritten racing history. He carried their stories like treasured heirlooms, the laughter in the barn before dawn, the whispered strategies, the shared disbelief at what Secretariat could do. When fans approached, they didn't just want to meet a Hall of Fame jockey. They wanted to touch the living link to a moment in time that still felt like magic. Turcotte never claimed the spotlight for himself. He spoke of we, not I, of the horse first, always. Grace and humility became his trademarks, even as the legend of Big Red grew larger with each passing year. He wasn't just the last survivor of a dynasty, he was its guardian. Chapter 6. The Final Ride. On August 29, 2025, the last great link to Secretariat's glory crossed his own finish line. Ron Turcotte died peacefully at his home in Drummond, New Brunswick, at the age of 84, the same small town where his journey began. The news rippled through the racing world like the echo of hoofbeats on a quiet track. From Churchill Downs to Woodbine, tributes poured in. Fellow riders, trainers, and fans, many who had never met him, spoke as if they had. Because in a way, they had. They'd ridden with him in spirit down the stretch at Belmont, felt the wind of Secretariat's stride, and shared in the impossible made real. They remembered not just the Hall of Fame jockey, but the man behind the silks, a man of faith, courage, and kindness, a man who carried himself with the same steady hands in life that once guided the greatest racehorse in history. Ron Turcotte's final ride was not on a racetrack, but into the hearts of those who will keep telling his story. And like Secretariat's 31-length Belmont, his legacy will never be caught. Chapter 7. Legacy in Motion. Ron Turcotte's life stands as living proof that greatness is never measured by trophies alone. Wins fade from the headlines, records eventually fall, but the way you carry those victories, the way you lift others with you, that's what endures. His partnership with Secretariat remains the gold standard in horse racing, a union of instinct, trust, and unshakable belief. Together, they didn't just win, they redefined what winning looked like. Every young jockey who dreams of the Derby, every fan who watches that 31-length Belmont replay, is chasing a shadow cast by Ron and Big Red. But his legacy runs deeper than the track. After his accident, Turcotte became a champion for those whose careers ended in a heartbeat. Through his advocacy for injured riders, he turned personal tragedy into a lifeline for others, proving that courage isn't about how you ride, it's about how you rise. And through it all, he remained humble. No matter the applause, he spoke first of the horse, the team, the journey. That humility, paired with his fire, ensures his story will be told for generations, not just as a racing legend, but as a man who showed the world how to finish strong. The world will remember Secretariat's 31-length Belmont, but those who know the sport will remember the man who guided him there, steady hands, fearless heart, and a belief that some rides never end. Ron Turcotte, the legendary Hall of Fame jockey who guided Secretariat to the 1973 Triple Crown, has taken his final ride at age 84. From humble beginnings as a lumberjack in New Brunswick to the pinnacle of horse racing, his life was defined by courage, humility, and unmatched skill. His record-breaking Belmont victory remains immortal, but so does his compassion, especially his tireless advocacy for injured jockeys after his own career-ending accident. Tributes pour in from across the racing world, honoring not just a champion in the saddle, but a man whose spirit, grace, and legacy will never be forgotten.